Hi everyone, here's what's bothering me today. So, a few days ago, I actually heard some news shared in some Facebook groups that showed some data that gun sales, or just firearm sales in general, had skyrocketed recently, with many of them being first time gun buyers, which tells us these are moderates and leftists who are starting to arm themselves. Now, on the one hand, if you live in a place like America where you have something like the Second Amendment, then okay, I guess that makes a bit more sense. The problem is that if you're just starting, you don't have the training. A lot of these militia guys have some degree of training. The cops have a lot more training. The National Guard and the military, even more training. And the problem is that the militia and the cops seem to be working together. Now, there's this tactic that police forces use as a method of riot control, which is called kettling, where they basically try and force you into an area and then enclose you in this area. And the idea is that they make the situation so tense that it boils over, and that gives them the impetus and the ability to move forward with batons, tear gas, tasers, rubber bullets, whatever, and to arrest agitators. Now, what's also telling about this is how it relates to Kenosha, Wisconsin, and a lot of the events that have been happening there. So the cops there seem to be openly working with the militias, and it's also scary in the sense of those cops specifically letting them know what they're going to do, or hey, when we pull back, that's when you guys can go in and we don't really care. So now that an alleged far right wing person has been shot and killed in Kenosha, I'm worried about what that means for anyone who shows up to a protest at any time this week. Because these people are working together, they have training, you don't. So be very careful out there, folks. This is not something easy. This is not something you want. I've thankfully, never had to deal with a civil war or an insurrection or a military regime. But my dad has, as well as several other family members. And people that I've talked to in Spain, some of the elderly can still remember their childhood years during the Civil War. And talking to refugees from Syria, from Afghanistan, this is not something that you really want. And right now, the other side has a lot more training. And the fact that a lot of leftists aren't thinking about this, or realizing it, or realizing that the police are trying to, domestically, within the bounds of the 48 contiguous states, they are trying what is basically a national level of kettling. They want these protesters to become increasingly angry and desperate so that they can have the excuse to go after you for inciting violence, so they can take you in an unmarked van and disappear you into the night somewhere. They want to get rid of any opposition before their authoritarian state comes down. Fascists never start with some kind of foreign enemy. They always start with creating an enemy from within, and it always starts with their opposition. In Italy, that was the socialists and the communists. Same in Weimar Germany. Spain had to have a civil war where the fascists beat out, again, the socialists and the Democrats. This is not something that you should be going into thinking, fuck around and find out, as that lovely gator-based flag shows. This is dangerous, and you need to recognize that. But the fact that some of you don't see what's going on in terms of the bigger picture is what's bothering me today.